Let's hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Puck It with Jo. Happy Sunday, everyone. Jo here with SportsGrid. It is May 18th. We have Game 7 on deck today out there on the ice, and it's time for Puck It with Jo. Let's go over what we saw last night. We did see the Dallas Stars close out the series with the Winnipeg Jets. It was a heartbreaker. If you guys were watching that, the Winnipeg Jets lost in overtime, taking a penalty in that third period late. Mark Scheifele headed to the box. Now, emotional game out there for Mark Scheifele, and I do tip my hat to him for being able to get out there on the ice, playing for his teammates as well as playing for the memory of his father who passed away Friday evening. So my heart goes out to the Scheifele family. May his dad rest in peace. And this is such a hard time for them. I hope they come through on the other side. His dad would have been so proud of how Mark Scheifele played, though, last night. So the Dallas Stars will advance. They will be facing the Edmonton Oilers. And now we're looking for who is going to be playing here out of this Game 7 to face the Carolina Hurricanes. So should have been a penalty shot. Yeah. It should have been a penalty shot. I'm completely with you. That is for sure. Yeah, we got Mark Scheifele for that anytime goal. He came through. He was clutch in that situation. So let's go. I know this is Bailey. You're excited to talk about your Toronto Maple Leafs today. So the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers here in Game 7. I'm going to throw a lot of things at you. Lots of things that we can look at in Game 7, what we've seen trend-wise for both of these teams and how they've been. We're going to look at the coaches. We're going to look at everything. Firstly, we should see a lower scoring game. This should be one of those games like we saw last night in Game 7 out there where both of these teams don't want to make mistakes, in Game 6. They don't want to make mistakes in that last game. Toronto extended their lives, winning that one 2-0. The amount of block shots they were able to get out there was outstanding. They blocked 31 of Florida shots, holding Florida only 22 shots on goal. They gave all that support. They're going to need to do that again. If the Toronto Maple Leafs want to win this game, they have to come out. They have to play exactly. They played perfect in Game 6. Florida, what happened to Florida out there? Florida just wasn't strong out there at all. So Leafs 0-6 in Game 7s. You're right. So this could be the lucky Game 7 out there. We got a ton to break down in this one. Let's look at what we've seen in those previous Game 7s as well as players who have stood up, and then we'll get into those bets. And Hall, your same game parlay, that's a nice look. The Leafs plus 2.5, Florida plus 2.5, and the game total under 6.5. Okay, over 2.5 goals and under 6.5. Is that what you're meaning? So let me confirm on that one what you're meaning there. Whoever wins this moves on to face the Carolina Hurricanes. We know that. So current odds, let's go over those odds and what we're seeing. The books have made Florida the favorite. They were the reigning Stanley Cup holders. So you know that they have the ability to get back to the cup. They're minus 130. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs, these Game 7s have been killer for them. They're plus 108 on that money line. Able to stay alive in Game 6, so that total of 5.5. The problem with the 5.5, the juice to the under is minus 168. If you want to take an under, I would be looking at this one to stay under 4.5. This has to be, that 3-1. 2-1 style of game. So the under 4.5 will give you value. Now, I do think the best place to always hit an under is looking at that first period. The first period total goes under 1.5 is coming in at minus 136. So I do like that. When we roll into the second period under 1.5 goals is minus 102. I do think we can get both of those periods. So instead of taking an under 4.5 and getting plus money, I think we can get the first and second period under that 1.5, as both of these teams do lock down. Now, in last night's game for the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars, we did see both of those goals come in that second period. That was your higher scoring one in game 6 last night in Dallas. I do think if we get a goal in the first, we could still get a goal in the second in this matchup here, and it be 2-2 going into that third period. The third period, for the total goals, you run the risk of the empty netter. So the over 1.5 is minus 134 because of that risk of the empty netter. The under 1.5 is plus 106. This would be a live betting situation depending on what we're seeing out there on the ice. If we're seeing both of these teams going scoreless still into that third period, I would look at the under or the over 1.5 at minus 134. You're just going to lose the value by the time you get there. I am considering playing all 3 of these periods under 1.5 going into this game. Even though that third period can be that empty netter, I would expect this third period to be just as tight, just as disciplined out there on the ice as we see the first and the second. I expect both of these teams to try to, one, they should be able to get some points on the board. So we got some players we can look at, but I do think neither wants to make a mistake. We're going to see the lack of penalties out there. That's what we saw in the Winnipeg Jets game with the Dallas Stars last night. And we saw why you got to stay out of the box, because going in the box resulted in Dallas getting that win. So great goaltending out there last night, and we've got solid goaltending here tonight. Toronto's going to get those block shots. Those shots on goal are going to be hard to come by for the Florida Panthers, and they're going to be hard to come by for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. The block shot on goal market, definitely something that we should be considering in this one. The problem is, as soon as we look at that block shot on goal market, the books, it's questionable. Scott Wetzel and I were live yesterday, and we would see a block shot go up and then be taken away. We'd see a shot on goal go up and then be taken away. So you've got to really hold your breath on those block shot markets. Chris Tanev, he's going to come out strong for the Leafs to get his block shots. This is, when you're looking at the block shots, you have to parlay them. 3+ block shots for Chris Tanev coming in at minus 160. So you can't take it separately. You've got then Seth Jones coming in for the Florida Panthers. I do think Seth Jones can get a block shot. His 3+ block shots coming in at plus 290. I think is a strong way to look. You've got playmakers up and down. Again, if you want to take the block shot market, you have to look at the 3s parlayed or the 2s parlayed. So let's look at the 2s just quickly. Seth Jones minus 105 for 2+ block shots on goal. Ekblad coming in at plus 145 for 2+ block shots. It would be the Leafs players I would look at, though. Chris Tanev is minus 480, so you can't jump on his 2+. And Morgan Riley minus 240. So let's look at the 3+ for those guys. Morgan Riley's coming in at plus 125. So I guess you could look at Chris Tanev and Morgan Riley parlayed together for their 3+. I do think they can get there. And then Jake McCabe coming in at plus 100. Again, I would look at Toronto. Let's get back to a couple things that I want to talk about. Those high danger shots just weren't coming in game 6. They did a very solid job at walking down the high danger 5-on-5 shots on goal and the high danger shots. So Toronto only had 13 high danger shots on 5-on-5 hockey in the last game, while Florida only had 6. Toronto had 31 blocked shots that they were able to block of Florida's, and Florida answered back with 10 block shots. Now, we did see Toronto win that 2-0. Question marks around Matthew Knives, who got injured in the first period of that last game. If he's going to be out there on the ice tonight, not sure he's going to be there. If Matthew Knives is out there, I don't think he's going to be at 100%. So it's going to be hard for him to really come out and get anything done, especially in a lower scoring game. I'd stay off his points tonight. When we look at Paul Maurice, the head coach of the Florida Panthers, this is where the experience comes in game 7 in his career, going 5-0 in game 7s. And when we look at Greg Berube here for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's gone 2-1 in game 7s. And he has Toronto playing at just another level that we haven't seen in the playoffs for a while. So I do like what we're seeing out of him, out of Toronto, but you can't get past the fact that the Leafs have lost 6 consecutive game 7s. 0-5 in the era of Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. So you look at those guys, They've been in the game 7 situation 5 times together. They've lost each and every single one of those game 7s. The Panthers, on the other hand, are 2-0 in game 7s on the road, and then 3-1 in all time in game 7. So they have the trends pointing in the right direction. Trends are made to be broken, though, you guys. If you want to look at play like the devil's advocate here, you can look at the road record for the Florida Panthers during the regular season: 24-21-2 on the road during the regular season, including a 1-2 record in the Toronto series on the road. So they did have those struggles on the road this season, where the Leafs were fantastic at home, going 31-15-1 at home on the year, including 4-2 at home during the playoffs this season. So we have seen the Leafs go strong there. I just think the depth of the Florida Panthers is a different level. I would look at Florida today, but I'm not going to take them straight up on the money line. That's way too much juice in a game where it could come down to some puck luck. Win or lose, I do think the Toronto Maple Leafs only get 2 goals. Like I said, I'm going to play the under 1.5 in all 3 periods going into this one. Searching for those unders to hit. I think we hit in 2 of the 3 periods. If this game is a 4-5 kind of pawn hockey game out there, I will be completely blown away. I think Bobrovsky is too good to allow that game to go that way. So another reason I like that under 1.5. And I do think the caution comes with these teams. These defenses know how to lock down. And with what we saw out of Toronto with those block shots, I really do think this has to be a 2-1 style win if Toronto gets it. And it could even be a 3-1 or 2-1 win if the Florida Panthers get it. So the Leafs under 2.5 goals will be my best bet of this game. It's coming in at -118. Let's start looking at players with history in game 7s and what we've seen out of them. So you're looking at Bobrovsky in net here for the Florida Panthers. He's been solid in this series, and we look at him in game 7s in his career, going 2-0 with a 1.88 goals against average and a .933 save percentage. On the other hand, Joseph Woll, never been in a game 7. You got to wonder what that pressure is going to be like for Joseph Woll. When we look at players and which players have had the most success, well, I know some of you are sick of hearing about me talk about Brad Mushaw, but we have to talk about Brad out here. We've talked about his success versus the Toronto Maple Leafs in his career. He's got us those 5 points in this series. I need a couple more points out of him to get that great plus money of the 7+ points in this series. Hopefully he is able to get there today. Now, his point today, I won't be rolling with it because I did roll with him in the series for 5+ and 7+. His point today, though, if you don't have him in the series, is +130. Now, in his career, and we know he wasn't here with Florida, he was with Boston. He has gone in game 7s versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's won all 4 game 7s he's faced Toronto in. So Brad for the point coming in at +130. He's 7-5 in game 7s with 7 points. So 3 goals and 4 assists in 7 postseason game 7s in his career. I do think that point is loading tonight. He's on that third line with Lundell in the second power play unit with Sam Bennett, Lundell as well. So I do think Brad will come out, show that depth of the Florida Panthers. This team, when they're scoring, they're spreading that puck around. Now, Carter Verhaeghe has gone 2-0 in game 7s in his career with 2 goals and 2 assists. I think Verhaeghe is a great player to look at for his points tonight. And then Matthew Tkachuk, he's gone 3-0 in his career in game 7s with 1 goal and 2 assists. The points are going to be hard to come by tonight. I'm going to let you guys know all of these players that I would look at. It would be for me, Brad Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk. You know, I love Sam Bennett and I love Sam Reinhart too. You just got to be cautious when we're looking at, a 3-1, 2-1 style win for one of these teams. It's going to be very hard to get your points. So go light in game 7 here. Again, my best bet is the under 2.5 goals. For Toronto, win or lose, I think they stick solid on 2 goals or 1 goal. Now, when we look at Toronto and we look at the success or lack of success, we can say in game 7s, Max Pacioretty has had the most success in game 7s. He's 3-1 in game 7s with 3 goals. He's a long shot for a goal tonight. Max Pacioretty coming out here for the goals, coming in at +550. Now, if you can get him for his point, I would look at his point. FanDuel just doesn't offer it. He's on the second power play unit and the 4th line with Max Domi and Bobby McMahon. So he is on that second line. I do think he will have success tonight. When we look at Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews in game sevens has 3 assists. Mitch Marner has 2 assists, both 0-5 in game sevens. Morgan Riley, 1 goal and a -7 in game sevens, going 0-5. William Nylander is the player of Toronto, other than Max Pacioretty, that you have to think will give the fans hope tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. William Nylander's gone 0-5 still, but 2 goals and 2 assists. So averaging just under a point per game. I would look at Nylander if you like Toronto today. And then Tavares, 1 goal and 0-4. So that's where you're sitting with those playmakers. I'll take a shot on, well, I'm not going to take a shot on Brad because I have the series bet, but I do think the best shot is on Brad Marchand, even though you guys don't want to hear it. And then Max Pacioretty. But then I'd look at William Nylander, and then I would look at Matthew Tkachuk. I think Matthew Tkachuk, there's got to be something going on with him, but I do think that point is loading for him in a pivotal game 7 today. So it should be a great day out there on the ice. I'm going to see all your comments. I'm going to look at them in just 1 minute. Let's just do the recap here and where I'm going. So my best bet in this game is the Toronto Maple Leafs team total under 2.5 goals, coming in at -118. I then think you got to look for Bobrovsky to stand on his head. Save shots on goal for both of these goaltenders. We'll jump into those numbers right after I look at these players, but I do think you look at both goaltenders too. The over for their save shots, even though we know Toronto's going to get those block shots like they did in the last game, I really do believe more shots will come out of Florida, especially if Toronto goes up first. Brad Marchand for his point tonight at +130. Max Pacioretty for his goal tonight at +550 for a long shot. Then William Nylander for his point for the Leafs. And then Matthew Tkachuk for his point for the Florida Panthers. You're going to have to parlay his point out there as probably as Nylander as well. Maybe looking at something else out there. I'd be very cautious with the block shots and the shots on goal. If you're looking at block shots, again, focus on the Toronto Maple Leafs, Chris Tanev and Morgan Riley for those block shots. You can parlay Chris Tanev at -160 and Morgan Riley at +125 for those block shots. The goalie props, and then I'll get to your guys' comment. You have Joseph Woll total saves, 25.5 is the number. Bobrovsky, 22.5, -130 to the over. I would look at both of these goaltenders to the over. I think we've got that low-scoring battle that has both goaltenders standing on their heads tonight. I do like both of them to the over. Now, Joseph Woll if Joseph Woll can save over 25.5, 26, 27, 28, 30. If he's up in those numbers, Toronto's going to win. So if you really do believe Toronto is winning tonight, please Joseph Woll. I do think Florida. I took Florida to win the series a couple of games ago at +175. This is a coin flip. It really is. Toronto on their home ice, I do think has such the ability to get the win. Those game 7 stats are right stacked against them. But their home record and what they were able to do in Florida in that last game speaks for itself. So I'm not going to take a side. You guys have already got Florida. I'm not going to hedge here and take Toronto in the hedge. It just doesn't make enough sense because I didn't put enough money originally down on Florida to take the series. So it wouldn't be worth it for me to hedge this one. But look at both goaltenders to the over. Again, if you like Joseph Woll and you like Toronto, today I would alt Joseph Woll's numbers. You can alt Joseph Woll, his save shots on goal. If they're winning, if you believe Toronto's winning, Joseph Woll for 30+ save shots on goal. I think that's what it's going to have to take for Toronto to get this win. Even if those block shots are coming, I do think Florida held to 22 in the last game. They will be just firing as much as possible. If Joseph Woll and Toronto wins this, I do think he can get 30+ save shots on goal coming in at +235. Now, on the other hand, with Bobrovsky, because you guys know I have Florida to win this, Bobrovsky's ult saves. You're looking at Bobrovsky coming in here. If you think he can get the 30+ save shots on goal, it's a +410. So the book's really expecting less shots to come out of the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is interesting because the Leafs have last change, and I do think they'll get the matchups they're hoping for out there on the ice. I would take a sprinkle on Bobrovsky if you think Florida is going to win at 30+ save shots on goal at +410. We know that the Florida Panthers are elite on defense, but I still do think, for a long shot, it's worth it looking at those goaltenders. Both of these goaltenders probably going to get right around their numbers, but I do think if one of the goaltenders is going to really stand on his head, it's going to be more so the Toronto Maple Leafs. We know if the Toronto Maple Leafs get on that power play, it can be so dangerous. Florida's power play can be as well. So again, both of these teams need to stay out of that box. They need to do a solid job out there at giving the support to their goaltenders, and it should be a great game. So this one kicking off at 7:30 Eastern. Yeah, 7:30 Eastern. Scott Wetzel and myself are live from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you come over and join us. We will be live betting this as well as looking at Denver and OKC. Rolling with Denver again, you guys. That plus money for the Denver Nuggets with Jokic. You know that I absolutely want it. We're going to look at a couple of things. So stay tuned for my Cup of Joe for that. Also join me on the grid because I do have a same game parlay that pays just under 5-1 to your money in that. We've kind of altered a little bit, looked at SGA, looked at Jokic, looked at Russell Westbrook. It's going to be a fun parlay. So make sure you do join me on the grid for that. Stay tuned for the Cup of Joe. And yeah, let's make some freaking money. I'm going to look at your comments really quick here. And if everyone could hit that like, I would love to see it. Yeah, we're not sure if Knives is playing yet. I really hope Knives is playing for Toronto. I want a good game where you see all of these players out there and them just giving it all their best. Florida had their chance to close it out, and they had the plus money. You're right. Florida absolutely had their chance to close it out. I have no idea why everyone is betting the Leafs on the money line. Just seems too weird. I know, the game sevens, but no one expected the Leafs to get the win in the last game, and I was really shocked. I'm going to be honest, like everyone that I know, everyone was rolling with Florida. The depth of Florida, you look at all of those players that have had points in this series and in the playoffs for the Florida Panthers, they're spreading that puck around. So Toronto's going to have to they're going to hold off so many playmakers out there on the ice. Like I said, I like Matthew Tkachuk, I like Brad Marchand, I like Barkov. I like Verhaeghe, and then you got Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart. Like the depth of the Florida Panthers is there. They need to play better than they did in the last one, and they can get this. Yeah, if you guys can hit that like, I would so appreciate it. 6 if you include the Columbus Blue Jackets playing game. Yeah, that is true. Happy Sunday to you as well, Larry. Yeah, that first period, under 1.5 in the overtime bet did cash for us, Larry, in that last game. Oh, and again, you guys, I will take every period under 1.5. I think we got a really solid under bet in every period for this game. Okay. OEL and for their anytime goal bets. Okay. I like where you're going there. OEL. Why am I drawing a blank on OEL? Let me know who you're talking about. If anyone's going to have a big game, it's probably Sam Bennett. He always comes up in huge games. So very true. Sam Bennett has been a talk of controversy during this series with some of those plays out there. And we know Sam Bennett is going to bring it today. I completely agree with you. I'm just having a hard time putting a lot of props in there. The Leafs will get the refs a lot tonight. Last game, the Leafs bet the Kittens and the refs. Yeah, it's very true. Happy Sunday, Kev. Good to see you here as well. I've got Denver. We've all got Denver. Let's roll with Denver. That is for sure. It's going to be a great day out there on the ice, out there on the hardwood. I don't hate the parlay of the Leafs on the money line, OKC on the money line. Let me know what that is paying you. OKC, though, an 8.5 point favorite. If you don't think that they're going to cover that 8.5, just take the Denver Nuggets plus 8.5. I like money line parlays when they're like -110, -115 over 24.5 points for Arlington team total. Nice way to go with that one. And Ekman Larson there for those points. But you guys, all the best in all your bets. I really appreciate you guys joining me here on the daily. Now, tomorrow, do we have a game? No. There is no game on deck tomorrow in the NHL. That is really sad. So we will not see Game 7 between the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets. There will be no Pocket with Joe tomorrow, sadly. Stay tuned for my Cup of Joe tomorrow, and then stay tuned to the grid for my Madden Quickie as well. All of that you will see. We'll be talking so much more baseball now that hockey is going in to the next round, the third round here. It's going to be limited days of Puck It with Joe. We just won't have a show daily if I can talk. But you guys, all the best and all your best today. I can't wait to see you back here. I believe we start on Wednesday, the next round. So we'll talk to you then. All the best, you guys.